tell you a little bit about Joshua. His background is really a very well-rounded one. As a matter of fact, truth be told, he's probably as versed in the paranormal, spiritual side of all of this high strangeness as much as anything in the UFO part of it. He is a guy that actually can connect all the dots together, which is, interestingly enough, what we try to do here this very week. Now, today Joshua has come to talk to us about a really, I think, neat subject. He is going to help us understand how to recognize faked evidence, okay? And as we all know, there is faked evidence out there. And the purpose of this is not to teach people how to fake stuff, but to teach us how to recognize it so that our valuable time, energy, and intellect is not wasted down the rabbit hole of fakery. It's going to be a trip. Ladies and gentlemen, Joshua P. Warren.
Thank you, Bob. Well, it certainly is a great honor and thrill to be here. This is my first time at the International UFO Congress, and I just came back from the United States Congress in Washington, D.C., so after that experience, everyone I've met here seems quite normal, I must say. Yes. But, you know, I believe we are being visited. And I've had experiences myself, and that's why I found it so valuable to try to look at people out there who are contaminating evidence of visitations by producing fakes, hoaxes. You can't really know how to properly analyze what's real if you don't first have the opportunity to look at what is not something credible and legitimate. The question of who these visitors are and where they come from is not all that relevant for the time being. I'll explain more later. But the idea is that they are from elsewhere. That's the key. They have even inspired this cover of Fate magazine from the fall. As you can see, the triangular craft looks very similar to this mysterious image that was circulating on the net. There was a conference that was apparently held in Ireland and in other parts of Europe. There was a quote in this report saying that this was witnessed in Ireland by many notable figures. There was a pilot and a local politician. Their names were given. These were real people. And when this was shown at one of these conferences in Ireland that was attended by at least a few hundred people, there was one UFO expert, I won't use his name, who said, quote, "There is no footage like this in the world. It is the most amazing thing I've ever seen. Definitive proof, incontrovertible evidence of otherworldly technology." Pretty strong, exciting words. When this was brought to my attention, however, and I started examining the footage, I found it amazing that someone had called this incontrovertible evidence of otherworldly technology, because that incontrovertible evidence was actually in my kitchen. As you can see, I'm holding it to give you an idea of the scale. This is a three-dimensional cardboard structure that has a layer of mylar on it. It also has LEDs at various points in an arrangement, a small laser pointer. The whole thing was hooked to balloons in a competition that I produce that I'm going to tell you about. I want to make it very clear, I am not a hoaxer. A hoaxer is somebody who lies, who deceives, who falsifies information. A faker is someone who tries to see if what is reported can be reproduced so we can learn from it. You see, I host a radio program called Speaking of Strange, and it is a professional program. It's owned by Clear Channel, the same company that owns Coast to Coast AM. In fact, it airs before Coast to Coast AM on Saturday nights in the southeastern United States. And it can be heard through terrestrial stations in North Carolina, South Carolina, Tennessee, Virginia, and all over the world on the internet. Fortunately, this show, which has been running now for 5 years, is the #1 rated show in its time slot in the entire marketplace. So I make use of the access I have to so many people who can help me in the process of trying to determine how we should produce experiments and tests for our research. In fact, I just want to point out to you that a couple of producers from my show have made the trip here with me, and they would love to speak to anyone this week who might have information that we could incorporate into experiments for the show. In fact, Forrest Connor and Will Beckwith, if you would stand up or wave, those are the two producers from Speaking of Strange with Clear Channel, so you know if you want to go up and grab them at some point. Well, I use the format of the radio show to create the Speaking of Strange UFO experience that has been running for 4 years now. And as I said, this is a contest. The initial idea was, let's see just how creative some people could be, because you would be amazed at how many folks actually go out and fake UFOs and other things like Bigfoot. Maybe you've heard about that. And so the psychology of the hoaxer is important as well, but I wanted to see, okay, how viable is it? How realistic is it for you to be able to get the funding and the engineering and the creativity together to create a reasonable hoax? Now, when I talk about a fake UFO, my specific definition is a man-made craft with the intention of tricking eyewitnesses. I'm not talking about something you might misinterpret. I'm talking about something that is intended to fool you. It's done for a sort of diabolical reason in some cases. And the idea behind faking these things, it really ties into the concept of Occam's razor, because if you're going to sit down and you're going to debate your experiences with some of the so-called professional skeptics or debunkers, then you need to understand as much as possible about what fake things look like, about maybe what flares look like, or all these other things that are used as excuses that sort of undermine the value of your experiences. So we are back engineering these effects in the simplest way, because when you see a UFO flying around, it doesn't really matter that much from your perspective how this thing is operating. It's all about what you perceive, what is visible to you. So we get together in Barnardsville, North Carolina every summer, and in Barnardsville, we bring people together. I'm talking, we have some people who come who are we have 5-year-old kids, we have 85-year-old people. They come from all over the place, and usually they use helium balloons and a variety of simplistic structures to lift these things at night. And at night, of course, all that matters is what you can see. It's about the illuminated portion. This is just the area where we do these things. And more than likely, people are using just a clump of balloons to lift these things. You can see that